Let's take a look at the map method. So here's a diagram that illustrates how the map method operates. On the left-hand side, we have a collection, and we use the map method on a collection of items or an array. And the goal of the map method is to take all the items in that array, transform each individual item, and store the new transformed element in a brand new array. The map method accepts an argument, which is a callback function. And that callback function is invoked on each individual item inside of the array. And that's where the transformation happens. That function has the instructions on how to transform the item that was passed to it. So in this diagram, notice our collection starts off as small shapes. The callback function is this increase size function. And notice the circle was passed in as an argument. Then the return value is a bigger circle, and that's stored in the new array that the map method creates. After the map method is done iterating over every single item, it will return the new collection. So let's create our own version of this increase size function. And what I'm going to do here is call const increase size. But this time around, we're not going to increase shapes. We're going to increase numbers. It'll be a little easier to work with because JavaScript doesn't have shapes as a data type. So here we'll take number and we'll multiply it by 2. The next thing I want to tackle is finding an array to actually call the map method on, right? We need an array. So I'll create a new array called myArray, and I'll just have a few numbers inside of it. And now we're finally ready to call the map method. So the map method, and let's just double check. I'm going to look at the documentation. The map method syntax looks something like this. Here's array.map, and notice it takes a function as an argument. So it looks like we're using it correctly. Also, a lot of times when I'm reading documentation, I'll get a better idea in how the method is used if I just look at its code. And we're going to create a very similar code snippet as the one we have right here. So sometimes it's just easier to read the code snippets and the examples of the method. Alrighty, back to now calling map. So we know the syntax, myArray.map, and we pass map a function. And the function we were going to pass it is increase size, because we're mimicking what we did in this diagram right here. We had an original collection, and then the size of that collection was increased. And that was what was returned from the map method. All right, let's do this. So here we have increase size. And I'm just going to make the new array called bigger array, right? Because map, after it's done executing, it will return a value, and that value returned is in an array. So we're going to store that array in the bigger array variable. Now let's console log a few things. So I want to console log myArray, and I want to console log bigger array, because I want to compare and make sure that myArray is the same exact size as the new array, because that's what map is supposed to do. It's supposed to map each individual item. So the size of both of our arrays should be exactly the same. They should also be different arrays. So the original array should still be intact. It still should have its original values inside of it because we're not manipulating that array. The map method creates a brand new one. Now when I run the code, perfect. Look at this. Here's our original array, and we're making that log statement on line 9, as you can see, and that's the array that we're logging. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the bigger array has everything increased in size or doubled. Now you might be wondering, some of the examples pass in the actual function object instead of just passing in by a name like we had here. So we assigned this function to a variable. This is a function expression. You could also just pass in an anonymous function as well, which would look something like this. So I'm going to comment out increase size, and instead, I'm just going to pass in the function itself. Now it looks like we have a syntax error here. I can see that when I ran prettier. I'll also get a syntax error when I save this, and we'll see it in the console hopefully, as we do right here, right? Uncall it syntax error. So let's debug that. It looks like I have an extra semicolon here, which is kind of the root of that error. And if I save that, look, everything corrected itself, and this code snippet is still running exactly as it was when we were passing in the named function, opposed to passing in this anonymous function. So this is a light introduction to map. In the next few videos, we're going to go over some tricks that you can use while you're using maps and show you some use cases and when you may want to use it.